All right, guys, you're gonna go ahead in 3, 2, 1.
Are we on?
Yes, Kenny.
Yes.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching this evening's Zoom platform meeting of the Town Board of the Town of Carmel. Today's date is Wednesday, May 27th, 2020. And before we get started, I'd like to dedicate this evening's Town Board meeting in honor and in the memory of Tommy Boniello, who passed away this morning. He was a long time resident of Mahopac, long-time businessman in Mahopac, and a graduate of Mahopac High School. He worked here his entire life, lived here his entire life. And Tommy was a great man. For those of you who knew him, I think most people did know him. He was a wonderful man, a gentleman, and he's going to be missed sorely by this community. He was Mike Borelli's business partner for many years, and that's why Councilman Borelli is not with us this evening, is because he's mourning the loss of his partner, Tommy Boniello. So this meeting is dedicated in Tommy's name and honor, and I just wanted everybody to know that I knew him personally, and he's going to be missed. So Susie, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening?
Of course. Yep. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
America.
and to the republic,
to the republic
for which
For which it
it stands,
stands,
one nation, under
under
God,
God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all.
You please remain standing for a moment of silence to remember all of those who served, who've given the ultimate sacrifice, and who are now presently fighting for our freedom. Thank you.
Thanks, Sue. Okay,
You're welcome, Kenny.
once again, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, for the record, there are no questions or comments that I received today from any residents with respect to this evening's agenda. Tonight is a dual agenda. The first meeting being a town board voting meeting. There's 9 resolutions that the board's going to be acting on. And then we have a town board work session to follow the voting meeting with 10 work session agenda items on it. And for the record, as I stated, Councilman Borelli was not able to attend this evening's town board meeting, so he won't be with us this evening. However, the remainder of the town board is present on the Zoom platform, as well as Greg Fulchetti, town council, Ann Spofford, the Town of Carmel town clerk, Rich Franzetti, the Town of Carmel town engineer, has items on the agenda this evening, and as well as Mary Ann, and also Ann Pascarella is with us tonight, also my administrative assistant. So the first item on the agenda tonight for the town, actually, I need a motion to open the town board voting meeting.
So
I'll
moved.
make the motion.
So moved by Councilwoman McDonough, seconded by Councilman Lombardi. All those in favor?
Aye.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right, there seems to be a delay, Dominic. It's almost like it's freezing
Kenny,
and
you're frozen.
it's a
man.
delay in the board.
Yeah, you're frozen, Kenny.
Yeah,
You're
that's you,
frozen
Kenny.
and
It's
standing
No,
up,
I'm-
Kenny. Nope, there you are. Okay, you're
All right, well,
you're back down.
Can you see me?
Close again.
Close it again.
Yep,
Yeah.
Sounds like there might be internet
No, you-
problems at town hall.
you froze again.
They were
All right, now
having
you're
a lot of
okay.
trouble last
Might be
night in
internet
the assessment meeting. So it could be a bandwidth issue.
Okay, well, can we go on and read the agenda items, the resolutions?
Who do you want to start?
All right, the first item is to accept the town board minutes of May 6, 2020. I need a motion to accept those.
So
Make a
moved.
motion.
So moved by Councilman Lombardi, seconded by Councilman Shannon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, the first resolution is a resolution authorizing entry into an agreement with the County of Putnam. Councilman Shannon, would you read resolution number 1, please?
Resolved that the town board of the town of Carmel hereby
Councilman Shannon?
authorizes the entry into an agreement with the county. Yes, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
hear you.
Resolved that the town
Yes.
board of the town of
yes,
Carmel hereby authorizes the entry into an agreement with the County of Putnam and the Putnam County Sheriff's Office for the provision of special patrol officers for the town of Carmel Town Hall for the period commencing retroactively to April 1st, 2020 through and including March 31st, 2021. Said agreement being in general from the form and substance as attached hereto and made a part thereof, and be it further resolved that Town Supervisor Kenneth Schmidt is hereby authorized to sign said agreement and any related documentation thereto, and be it further resolved that Town Controller Mary Ann Maxwell is hereby authorized to make any and all necessary budget modifications required in connection with this authorization. I offer this resolution as read.
Second.
Okay, seconded by Councilman Lombardi. Roll call vote?
Councilman Shannon,
Yes.
Councilman Lombardi,
Aye.
Councilwoman McDonough,
Yes.
Supervisor Schmidt.
Yes, motion carried. Okay, next resolution, number 2, is a resolution, amended resolution authorizing entry into an advance payment agreements with the New York State DOT. Councilwoman McDonough, would you read 2, please?
Sure. Whereas the New York State Department of Transportation, in connection with NYSDOT PIN number 8812.04.221, has filed acquisition maps for the condemnation acquisition easements over 4 parcels of land owned by the town of Carmel, which are both located on New York State Route 6N in Mahopac, as shown on acquisition maps for said PIN as numbered and labeled parcels number 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, and 118. And whereas New York State DOT has offered the aggregate sum of $23,075 to be paid to the town of Carmel for advanced compensation in connection with these easement acquisitions. Now therefore be resolved that the town board of the town of Carmel hereby authorizes entry into 4 advanced payment agreement for initial acceptance of the aggregate sum of $23,075 as compensation for said easement acquisition, subject to the option of the town board to claim additional future compensation. And be it further resolved, the town supervisor, Kenneth Schmidt, is hereby authorized to execute said advance payment agreements for said easement acquisitions, said agreements to be in form and substance as on file in the office of the town supervisor. I offer this resolution as read.
Second.
Okay, seconded by Councilman Lombardi. Roll call vote?
Councilman Shannon,
Yes.
Councilman Lombardi,
Aye.
Councilwoman McDonough,
Yes.
Supervisor Schmidt.
Yes, motion carried. Okay, next resolution, number 3, is a resolution designating town employees as contact tracers. Councilman Lombardi, would you read resolution 3?
Sure. Resolve the Town Board of Town of Carmel in accordance with the request by County of Putnam Director of Personnel Paul Eldridge, as well as in accordance with the directives of Governor Andrew Cuomo for the reopening of counties designated as Mid-Hudson Region, in accordance with required metrics, hereby designates the list of employees as attached to here and made part hereof as contact tracers related to COVID-19 pandemic and the state of emergency declared and associated therewith. And be it further resolved that such designation is hereby authorized under provision of New York Civil Service Law, Section 61, subsection 2, for any town employees to which the provision of New York Civil Service Law apply. I offer the resolution as well.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman McDonough. Roll call vote?
Councilman Shannon,
Yes.
Councilman Lombardi,
Aye.
Councilwoman McDonough,
Yes.
Supervisor Schmidt.
Yes, motion carried. Okay, next resolution, number 4, is a resolution acknowledging performance of emergency repairs at McDonough Park. Councilman Shannon, would you read 4, please?
Resolved, the town board of the town of Carmel hereby acknowledges the emergency performance of repair and replacement of the McDonough Park interior water storage tanks and appurtenances as performed by B&J Plumbing, Mayapack, New York on May 4, 2020, as fully detailed in the memorandum and attachment submitted to the town of board by Director of Recreations and Parks James R. Gilchrist dated May 6, 2020, and as attached hereto and made a part thereof. I offer this resolution as read.
Second,
Second by Councilwoman McDonough. Roll call vote.
Councilman Shannon,
Yes.
Councilman Lombardi,
Aye.
Councilwoman McDonough,
yes.
Supervisor Schmidt.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Next resolution, number 5, is a resolution acknowledging performance of emergency repairs, Carmel Water Districts. Councilwoman McDonough, would you read 5, please?
Sure, resolved that the town board of the town of Carmel, acting as commissioners of the various water districts of the town of Carmel, hereby acknowledges the emergency performance of water and sewer district collection system, distribution system, and treatment facilities repairs within Carmel Water District number 4 and Carmel and Water District number 12, all as fully detailed in the memoranda of Town Engineer Richard J. Franzetti, P.E., to the Town Board dated May 13th, 2020, as attached hereto and made a part thereof. I offer this resolution as read.
I second it.
Okay, seconded by Councilman Shannon. Roll call vote.
Councilman Shannon,
Yes.
Councilman Lombardi,
Aye.
Councilwoman McDonough,
Yes.
Supervisor Schmidt.
Yes, motion carried. Okay, next resolution, number 6, is a resolution accepting authorization of emergency purchase and installation of comminutor equipment for Carmel Sewer District 4, the wastewater treatment plant. Councilman Lombardi, would you read 6?
Whereas Infomark LLC, operators of the Carmel Sewer District Number 4 wastewater treatment plant, and town engineer Richard J. Franzetti, P.E., have each advised the town board of the town of Carmel that the comminutor unit located at the headworks of the Carmel Sewer District Number 4 wastewater treatment plant is in need of replacement. And whereas Infomark LLC and the town engineer have each further advised the town board that the acquisition of said comminutor unit is exempt from the New York General Municipal Law as an emergency exception. Now therefore be it resolved, Town Board of Town of Carmel, acting as commissioners of Carmel Sewer District Number 4, hereby accept and adopt the recommendations of Infomark LLC and the town engineer, and determine that the need for replacement installation of the reference comminutor unit is an emergency circumstance that cannot await competitive bidding under General Municipal Law Section 103, and accordingly authorizes the purchase of said comminutor unit and appurtenances from JWC Environmental, Santa Ana, California, at a cost not to exceed $20,921, and in accordance with the quotation dated March 17, 2020. And be it further resolved, the town board authorizes payment to Infomark LLC for the installation of said repair part in a sum not to exceed $2,500. And be it further resolved, the town controller, Mary Ann Maxwell, is hereby authorized to make any and all necessary budget revisions to effect the aforesaid purchase transaction authorized herein. I offer the resolution as read.
Second,
Seconded by Councilwoman McDonough. Roll call vote.
Councilman Shannon,
Yes.
Councilman Lombardi,
Aye.
Councilwoman McDonough,
yes.
Supervisor Schmidt.
Yes, motion carried. Okay, next resolution, number 7, is a resolution accepting a proposal for the installation of a thickener pump, Carmel Sewer District Number 2 wastewater treatment plant. Councilman Shannon, would you read 7, please?
Whereas Infomark LLC, operator for the Carmel Central Sewer District Number 2 wastewater treatment plant, and the town engineer Richard J. Franzetti, P.E., have each advised the town board of the town of Carmel that the thickener overflow pump located at the Carmel Sewer District Number 2 wastewater treatment plant is in need of replacement. And whereas town engineer has further advised the town board that the replacement pump unit has already been acquired and has accordingly solicited proposals for the cost of installation of same. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Carmel, acting as commissioner of Carmel Sewer District 2, hereby accept and adopt the recommendations of Infomark LLC and the town engineer, and accept the proposal of TAM Enterprises Incorporated, Goshen, New York, for the installation of said pump unit at a cost not to exceed $18,438. In accordance with the quotation dated March 10th, 2020, and be it further resolved that Town Controller Mary Ann Maxwell is hereby authorized to make any and all necessary budget revisions to effect the aforesaid purchase transactions authorized herein. I offer this resolution as read.
Second.
Second,
Seconded by Councilwoman McDonough. Roll call vote.
Councilman Channel,
Yes.
Councilman Lombardi,
Aye.
Councilwoman McDonough,
yes.
Supervisor Schmidt.
Yes, motion carried. Okay, next resolution, number 8, is a resolution accepting a proposal for the installation of signs for the Lake Cassidy Park District. Councilwoman McDonough, would you read 8, please?
Sure. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Carmel, acting as commissioners of the Lake Cassidy Park District, hereby accept the proposal of Sundog Signs LLC, Carmel, New York, for the installation of new signs at the Lake Cassidy Park District facilities at a cost not to exceed $8,650, and in accordance with the quotation dated March 23rd, 2020. And be it further resolved, the Town Comptroller, Mary Ann Maxwell, is hereby authorized to make any and all necessary budget revisions to effect the aforesaid purchase transitions authorized herein. I offer this resolution as read.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councilman Shannell. Roll call vote.
Councilman Channel,
Yes.
Councilman Lombardi,
Aye.
Councilwoman McDonough, Supervisor Schmidt.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Okay, the ninth and final resolution this evening is authorizing amendment to a contract for engineering services, Carmel Water District Storage Tank, Rehabilitation Design and Construction Administration, and Management Services. Councilman Lombardi, would you read 9, please?
Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Carmel, acting as commissioners of the various water districts of the Town of Carmel on November 6, 2019, had previously awarded the contract for the engineering design, bid assistance, and construction administrative services for water storage tank rehabilitation project with water districts number 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10, 13, and 14 to Weston and Sampson, Reading, PA, at a cost not to exceed $215,500. And whereas Town Engineer Richard J. Franzetti has recommended an amendment to the contract price for each respective park districts in accordance with the terms of his memorandum to the Town Board dated May 7, 2020, now therefore be it resolved, the Town Board of Town of Carmel, acting as commissioners of water districts number 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10, 13, and 14, hereby authorizes an increase in the contract price to be paid to Weston and Sampson for the aforementioned services in the amount of $128,700, amending the overall contract price to a not to exceed amount of $344,200 in accordance with the referenced town engineer memorandum dated May 7, 2020, and the proposal of Weston and Sampson also dated May 7, 2020. And be it further resolved, Town Supervisor Ken Schmidt is hereby authorized to sign any and all documentation necessary to memorialize the actions authorized herein. And be it further resolved, the Town Controller Mary Ann Maxwell is hereby authorized to make any and all necessary budget transfers and modifications required to fund the cost of this authorization. I offer this authorization as well.
Second,
Seconded by Councilwoman McDonough. Roll call vote.
Councilman Channel,
Yes.
Councilman Lombardi,
Aye.
Councilwoman McDonough,
yes.
Supervisor Schmidt.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Okay, that completes the 9 agenda items for the Town Board voting meeting for this evening. At this time, I need a motion to close the voting meeting.
Supervisor, before you close the meeting, just to follow up to that last agenda item that was just voted on, Weston and Sampson did provide a capacity assessment report. And as your suggestion at our last meeting, the tank of 500,000 is feasible in the Everett Road area. So I have the new numbers to provide Mary Ann, so we can then ultimately bring this to the bonding that we need to do to move the next step forward. I just wanted to let the board know that I just received the information late today. I was out for the past handful of days, so I apologize for not getting it to you sooner, but it's there now, and I just wanted to let you know it.
All right, hey, Rich?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us what the difference of cost is from a 300,000 gallon tank to a 500,000 gallon tank approximately?
About 150K, but I have to confirm that for the board. I just remember that number, but I think it was about 150,000.
So we're gaining 200,000 extra gallon capacity for about $150,000, right?
Yes, sir. I need to confirm that number, but I believe that's what it was.
And the original
Okay.
amount for the tank?
All right.
100,000?
I'm sorry, Councilman?
The original tank at 300,000 gallons was how much money?
It was about 150,000 less than what a 500,000 gallon tank was. I don't remember off the top of my head. I do apologize for not having that in front of me. But I can get you that information tomorrow.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, sounds like a no-brainer. 200,000 in capacity for 150,000. Smart to do that.
Right.
Okay. All right. Rich, did you have anything else on that, or that was it?
No, I'm good. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I figured while that was still fresh, we can carry on.
Okay. All right. So I need a motion to close the voting meeting.
So moved.
So moved by Councilwoman McDonough, seconded by Councilman Lombardi. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. I need a motion to open the town board work session. Oh, good night,
Bye,
Ann.
Annie. So moved.
Night, Ann. All right. So moved by who? Susie?
Yes,
Who was seconding it? Frank?
I believe Frank.
All right. Seconded by Councilman Lombardi. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. As I stated earlier, we have 10 work session agenda items for tonight's meeting. And the first item is the review of the town board minutes of May 13th, 2020. Does the board have any comments regarding the May 13th meeting? Okay.
No.
All right. We're going to move on. So Town Comptroller Mary Ann Maxwell is here with us this evening for agenda items 1 and agenda item 2. So the first item on the agenda is a presentation of the Town of Carmel Police Retirement Incentive. So let me just, Mary Ann, before you start, let me just give a little background to this.
Okay.
And then you could present the calculations for us, the spreadsheet you did with the numbers. So pre-COVID, just pre-COVID, there were some discussions that were had with respect to the police department budget. And we were looking for creative ways to perhaps reduce our spending within the police department. And one of the items that we talked about was perhaps the officers that have at least 20 years on the force who are eligible to retire. Would they consider retiring if the town offered a retirement incentive to those officers? Now keep in mind that the top pay officers with benefits is a pretty significant number. And that's a driving cost to the labor line in the budget. It always has been, it always will be. But if 4 officers that are eligible in 2020 were to take a early retirement incentive or a retirement incentive, a buyout, if you will, to retire, would they do it? So, we also looked at the numbers of the new hires. Now, a new academy hire is roughly $46,000, and a transfer within from one department to another is between $55,000 and $62,000, depending on how many years that officer has with another department. And they would come over as a transfer. It's a transfer rate. So the savings would be significant if the officers that are eligible to retire would consider taking a retirement incentive. So we began the discussions. Councilman Shannell and Councilman Borelli, who are they're the town liaisons to the police department, met with representatives of the police department to discuss the possibility or the feasibility, if you will, of, if the town were to offer a retirement incentive, what their thoughts were. Would they consider that and leave and retire from the force, opening up a new position for a new hire, which cost the town much, much less money. Not only salary, but the new hires are tier 6 hires, and they contribute to their pension plan, and they're also contributing to their health insurance also. So hiring a new officer makes sense because it's a considerable savings to the town at their the new hire step or the transfer rate, which is slightly higher than the academy rate. So Councilman Borelli and Channel did meet with the representatives of the police department, and they indicated that they were receptive to some type of buyout. So negotiations began with the liaisons, and then there was a point when the liaisons were comfortable to bring that offer or that retirement incentive package back to the town board for consideration. So we're to the point now where we believe that 4 of the officers, three in the PBA and Chief Kazari, are strongly considering accepting the terms of the buyout, terms of the retirement incentive. So, what we did with that knowledge, knowing that, we believe that they would take it. Marianne, we asked our town controller, Marianne Maxwell, to look at the numbers to calculate what the actual savings would be for the town if the town were to, consummate that deal and agree with the PBA for them to retire. So Marianne looked at those numbers. She crunched the numbers, if you will. She did a very comprehensive spreadsheet on what the current costs are with the 4 officers that have 20 plus years on the job and what the cost would be for new hires. And Marianne did an excellent spreadsheet and, did an analysis of what those savings would be to the town of Carmel. So I'd like to turn it over to the town controller, Marianne, at this point. I asked her to present her findings at the work session this evening and what the cost savings would be to the town, if we went ahead and moved forward with the retirement incentive package. So Marianne, if you could pick it up from here.
Sure. Okay, so as Supervisor Schmidt said, I did look at the potential cost or savings. The date I used, because I had to put a date in there, was September 30th. So with those 4 officers or 3 officers and Chief Kazari coming off our books on September 30th and hiring new officers at a lower salary. The salary I used, because we don't know whether we would be hiring academy, officers or transfers. What I used is the transfer step 3, which is $62,586. That's the salary. So those 4 officers, 3 officers and the chief retiring, and then replacing them with those transfer step 3. Now, we also have to keep in mind that we'd have to also budget for, if one is a sergeant, if he retires, you'd have to, replace an existing officer, as a sergeant. So I included that increase in the budget or the promotion also in my analysis. So there was a lot of different pieces that I had to look at to come up with the true number or true estimate. So basically in 2020, after we would pay out the incentive, we would still have a savings of $56,000 in 2020. Now that's again, if those officers retired by September 30th and we hired the new ones and did promotions to chief, to sergeant, to detective. And I think there's 1 officer that we would replace with a lower paying salary.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the 2020 savings. I mentioned earlier that the salary is a step 3. that's $62,000. You're also saving, as Supervisor Schmidt mentioned earlier, in the retirement pension cost. Not only are they paying towards their retirement, we the town are paying less towards their a less percentage of their salary. Top paying officers are tier 2, and we pay 25 or 26% of their salary. Tier 5 and tier 6, we pay approximately 16% because they're also contributing. So that's another savings, not only in the salary, but also in the pension contributions. So
Mary
then
Ann?
if we, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
can I interrupt you for a second?
sure.
I
Sure.
don't know if I think for those that are watching, so it puts everything into perspective and they understand what the numbers are that you're talking about. I don't know if I
Mhm.
mentioned the amount of the buyout, did I? I don't think I
No.
did.
I don't think so.
No.
No.
All right. So I think it's important for the listeners that they understand that the amount per officer is 50,000 to retire. But as Mary Ann goes along, you'll understand. And even though that number may seem significant, and it is, but it's definitely going to be worthwhile because of the savings that the town is going to recognize. It's a significant savings, even after the payout of the buyout. You'll see what the savings are as Mary Ann goes along. I'm sorry, Mary Ann, I just wanted
That's
to
okay.
mention
No,
that.
that's okay. Yeah, and I did include that in the 2020 analysis. Even after paying out that 200,000, which is 50,000 per officer, we're still saving 56,000 in 2020. Okay, so the date of September 30th was an important date in my eyes because the supervisor has to submit his budget to the town board by September 30th. So knowing that those officers will come off the books by September 30th, and we would be budgeting for a lower paying officer, then, it would be a true budget for 2021. So when I put those numbers into the 2021 budget and estimated the cost savings, we would be looking at a savings of approximately $510,000. If none of those officers, and let me just explain how I came up to that number. If none of those officers retired and the salary we were looking at to go from 2020 to 2021, we would be looking at a budget for the police department of $9,840,000. If those 4 officers retire and we, make the necessary promotions to chief, to detective, to sergeant, those transfers, if we were to hire the transfers this year as a step 3, they would get their promotion or their step increase to step 4. They would be making $71,000. We would be budgeting $9,330,000 for the police department budget, approximately.
So Mary Ann, just a quick question. So for the 2021, with the 4 people leaving to get
Mhm.
to the 510,000 savings, we necessarily wouldn't hire 4 new people. We would promote within the 3 people and hire a new chief.
No, well, this budget of $9,330,000 is a budget of 35 officers. So I also wanted to mention that by right now on the books, we have 36 officers. So
Okay.
if 4 retire, that brings it down to 32. The
Mhm.
number that we talked to Lieutenant Kunz earlier today, the number that they're looking to get at is 35, a 35-man force. So that's what I included in this presentation is a 35-man force. That includes the chief. So we would, if 4 retire, that brings us down to 32. We would hire 2 officers and replace the chief. So you would be able to hire 2 more officers and replace the chief. Because we did, I don't know if you remember back in, I think it was November or December,
Mhm.
Officers Raphael and DeAndrea retired. And the chief and Lieutenant Cuddens came to us and said, can we hire 4 in the, two in anticipation of future retirees, and 2 to replace those officers that retired in November. So I did an analysis back then, and, you know, we did determine that that was feasible. So, like I said, we have 36 now. If 4 retire, we would replace 2 plus the chief. Now, some would get promotions, and then you would hire a incoming officer at a, you know, transfer step 3 or an academy. I don't know what, you know, that would be up to the chief or the police department.
And that's
Mary-
included in the number that you have here, or that scenario.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Mary Ann, for the sake of the public that's watching, so just let's summarize the different categories that you went into in each line to come up with the savings amounts. So obviously the first in this year, and we made it very important, and you were right, that we had to have a decision by September 30th. So even with the September 30th date, which is a savings for 3 months past that, including the incentive, we're at 56,772, correct?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
All right. So what
Yes.
decreased, other than not having their salaries for the rest of the year, what decreased to bring us to those numbers?
The pension contributions, health
Okay.
insurance.
And again,
I think a
and-
lot
and
of,
just
yep.
for the sake of the
okay, for the-
record, I want everybody to
Yeah.
understand that you and I think you and most of the other board members met, and you and I went over this for
Oh,
about an
yeah,
hour and a half.
absolutely.
So I just wanted
Oh, yeah,
everybody,
several times.
not for my sake, but
Yep.
for the sake of the public, to see where, you know, what was the driver to these numbers.
Yes, no, I think I've done probably a half a dozen spreadsheets over the past couple months, and, you know, but yeah, so I think that definitely the retirement contribution is a big factor. The salaries, obviously, health insurance also. You know, some of the younger officers are you know, single or, you know, on individual plans. So that has something to do with that. I did budget for family plans because you don't know who you're going to hire. But the officers, there's a lot of officers now, employees in general, that are taking the health insurance buyout because
Right.
they get the $5,000. So that's a savings
Yeah, so
as well.
that 510 could actually increase based upon family versus individual health insurance, and
Yes.
if
yes.
we're just given I think you had told me that a lot of the newer employees in the police department are taking the $5,000 buyout because
$5,000 buyout, yeah.
covered.
Because their
So that's-
spouse has insurance, or if some of them are still under their family plans. You know, they're their
Right, so-
parents.
Right, so
You know,
therefore,
until they're 26.
yeah, so
so-
that 510 number could actually increase.
Correct.
Right, so,
Yep.
and one of the
The
other
other-
things I'm sorry, go ahead, Mary.
The other thing that could increase our savings is if, now I mentioned I did this estimate as a transfer step 3. So if you were to hire an academy, you know, that's 46,000. So if you're hired an academy, you may have to budget more money for overtime while they're in the academy, but once they're out, you know, their salaries, you know, in 2021, for a transfer step 3 or then a transfer step 4 would be 71,000. The academies, if you were to hire an academy this year, they would be 55 or 63 next year. So again, it depends. This is based on an estimate of what we would hire, but that would also be a factor.
Right, because perhaps we can bring in a senior officer or perhaps even a chief at a different rate than is currently getting, correct? I mean,
You
that's up
could,
to the
yeah.
town
I
board.
don't-
That could be up to the town
That's up
board.
to,
Correct, so
That's up to
there
the
could
town
be,
board.
I
in
believe the chief
addition,
gets a certain percentage over the
And-
lieutenant.
correct, but in addition to that, you know,
15%.
right. But in addition to that, while there's 4 that are retiring, in light of, the pandemic that we're in and some other factors, we may not hire 4. We may just hire 3. And
No,
let-
Frank, you don't, Frank,
ahead.
you don't have to hire 4 at all. You
That's what-
only
that's
have
what
to hire, you don't have to hire 3. To bring
No,
it to, to bring it to bring it to 35, you'd have to hire 2. If you want to
2
leave it
plus
at
the chief.
34,
2 plus the chief.
well, the chief is being replaced anyway, regardless. All right?
Right,
You
but
need a chief of
But that's
police.
part of the number. Right, of course, but
Right,
that's part of
right.
the number. To bring it to
But we ju-
35.
We just hired an officer here 3 weeks ago, and he's coming in at 46,000, and he's fully trained, and he's ready to go after his training, his field training. So that's going to be a little bit of a grade of savings, I think, because we're not paying him at step 2 or step 3. He's coming
Exactly.
in,
Right.
he's
So
coming
if-
in.
I'm sorry.
Uh,
That's
and-
actually a
and
good,
sir-
good scenario, yeah. Because he's not on this list. The new officer is not on this list because I did this spreadsheet before we hired him. So if you're looking at one of those officers that on the top right hand of this page where it says $71,000, he's going to go from 46,000 to 55. So that's an additional 15,000 savings because he was brought in at 46. Next year he'll go up to 55, I believe. So, like I said, I did this analysis based on the transfers, but if we hire at an academy salary or a lower transfer salary, then those savings are going to increase. If we hire it at a higher rate, then the cost will decrease, the savings will decrease.
Kenny, I was just
Marianne-
trying to say that we don't necessarily need to replace 1 for 1. There may be a situation where we would not have to hire 4. We could hire 3 or less.
There was never, Frank, there was never a reason to hire 4. Never. Because they're at 36 right now.
Yeah.
If 4 leave, you really only you have to replace the chief. We know that. But
Right.
you only have to replace 1 to get to 34. You'd have to hire 1. You don't have,
Right. So,
And
Right.
these numbers are based on 2 officers and 1 chief.
Correct.
So I think if we start getting into hiring more people, you'd have to do a whole nother spreadsheet, and that's just too confusing right now. But, all right.
but,
Mary Ann?
with the situation that we're in, I'm not sure we would want to go beyond hiring, what we anticipate in light of, listen, we've had discussions about this, and I don't think any of us are particularly ever thrilled with the word buyout. But I think in light of the fact that there are substantial, and I mean substantial savings to our budget next year, and in light of the pandemic that's going on now, we needed to be creative. And this looks to be very, very creative. So when, bless you. So when you're adding
Thank you.
the 2 numbers, you're at almost $570,000 after you've paid the incentive. That's already included in here. So next year, if you look at 510 coming off of the police budget, Mary Ann, that's what? That's 2 percentage points.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not this year to next year, because this year's budget was 9,700,000. So
Right.
if none of those officers retired, then we would be budgeting 9,800,000. So,
It's 100,000 more.
yeah, so it's, if they retire, it's 9,300,000. And again, that's based on the scenarios that, as a transfer. So, yeah, it is.
Right, so
it
as-
is,
so as
we
is-
will be lowering, basically, to put it in to summarize it, we will be lowering the tax levy that we would have to raise in taxes for the police department budget. So we will not be going to the taxpayers with that extra 100,000. We'll be actually lowering it from 9,742,000 to 9,330,000.
Yeah, so that's quite a
Okay,
savings on our
so-
budget.
Right. And once we start really getting into the budget, Now, the other thing I want to mention is that I did not change any of the numbers related to the equipment or the contractual expenses in the budget, because I don't know how many cars the chief is going to want or need, or the police department's going to need. Uniforms, I did look at the uniforms, because if we're hiring new, we'd have to, obviously budget for more uniforms. But, there's different things in here that I did not look at. Fuel, we don't know what fuel is going to be. So I left that all the same. But, I don't think it's going to make a big difference, but.
No,
Quick
fuel's
question,
not
Marianne.
gonna make much of a difference.
Yeah.
And, right, and.
So I basically, what I just want to make clear is that I didn't look at every line. I looked at the salaries and the benefits, which is the 80% of our budget in total, townwide budget. It's, it's about 78 or 80% in total anyway for the whole townwide.
Yeah, and who's to say that we are going to need to replace any police cars? We may,
Right.
we may not. I mean, considering the situation that, we found ourselves in,
Yeah, everything may
we-
just stay
it may
status
just
quo.
be status quo.
Yep.
Right.
Status
So
quo,
we'd have to
you know.
look at everything. Yeah.
I-
We are, the good thing that I wanted to, mention again is that we are increasing the force. So we're saving that money, and we're also increasing the force from 34 to 35. Last year's budget had
also-
34 officers.
Yeah, I also think, Kenny, that we should mention that this is a one-year deal right now. We're going to revisit it if we're going to continue this, but it's just offered through September. It's not right now offered to the people that's available for retirement next year. I think that's important just to tell the people, that this was looked at just for the people that are eligible to retire this year. And like Kenny, the supervisor said, there's 4 of them. Marianne did the spreadsheet. This year would be close to 57,000 and next year 510,000.
Yeah, no, it was done, for the most part to effectuate the upcoming budget of 2021. So that's
Yes.
where this is coming into
Right.
place. Now, we can revisit it going into next year to see, but right now we're focused on next year's, coming into next
Yeah,
year's
helping
budget.
the taxpayers.
Mary Ann, also, accrued time that the officers may have, was that also worked into the numbers? Sick time, holiday time, anything that might be owed to them?
Accrued time of the ones that are retiring, or?
Yes.
Well, they get that anyway.
Yeah, well, they got that, and that I have a fund balance that we hold aside for that.
Okay.
We have over over $1 million in there, so we have that money set aside to pay out their sick time,
Okay,
vacation time, and days owed. So that's accounted for.
okay, good. I think this is pretty much a no-brainer. We're gonna save a lot of money, not this year, but definitely next year. And now the
Well,
numbers
we will
work in
save
the
some money this year, Bob.
financial situation that we're in right now, I think it's a wise move.
Yeah, if we get this done by September 30th, there will be a savings of roughly $60,000 from this year's budget, which we could use, going forward.
Hey, Marianne, can you give me the salary of a sergeant in 2020, a sergeant with 20 years on the job this year?
Sergeant,
Just the base salary, how much is it?
120,000, 120, 420.
124.20? And what's the base salary of a detective?
116, 106.
116,106. So this is just base salary. And what's the base
Yes.
salary of a patrolman?
107, 466.
107,466. Okay.
Yeah.
So a sergeant with a salary of 120, a detective with a salary of 116, this is base salary, and a patrolman with a salary of 107. Taking the buyout would allow us to fill those positions. Granted, you're going to have to promote current patrolmen from within to the rank of sergeant and the rank of detective, but bringing a new transfer hire is 55,000. roughly?
A new transfer,
46,940, I think, right?
a new transfer, step one is 54,762.
54,762?
A step, yeah, like not an academy, I mean, one
What
step,
step one?
step one, 54,762.
Okay, 54,762. And academy is what, 46,000?
46,939. 46,939.
All right. And a transfer with 2 years?
62,586.
62,586. All right. So you see the numbers? You see the numbers, guys? That's why this makes sense to do, because your 3 top salaried officers, I'm taking the chief out of it, but with the chief in it, it's more. But 3 of your top salaried officers, 120, 116, 107, are being replaced by 46,939. That's for the new academy hire. 54,762 for a 1-year transfer and 62,586 for a 2-year transfer. There's your savings right there. There's your big savings. If you aggregate that out over a 2 or 3 year period, you're seeing the savings. So even though, but I want the public to understand, and I think they do, because we went through the numbers and we did the math. You know, even though we're investing $200,000 in the retirement center, $50,000 per officer, the savings that we're going to recognize to the taxpayer is almost $600,000 in savings after, you know, the $200,000 was paid. So it makes sense. It's a significant savings to the taxpayer. It reduces the police department budget, and we have a young force. We have a very young police force right now. It's going to get younger when the 20-plus year officers retire. And having a young police force, having veterans on the force is good to have, you know, the veteran knowledge and experience, but new officers is like new blood for the department, and it's good for the department. So I think this makes sense all around, the savings to the taxpayers and for our police department as well. So makes sense, and I support this, and it's something that we should move forward with. Does anyone else have anything they want to add? Susie, Frank, or Bob?
No, I mean, we went through it, you know, we went through it with Mary Ann over a number of hours. We've all, you know, discussed the pluses and minuses. We did the negotiations of the final and the terms and the important dates that we thought were important for us to get this done. And just, you know, numbers don't lie. I mean, you know, Mary Ann did a great job with the few spreadsheets, the tremendous, you know, big spreadsheets that she did on this, included besides the one that she put for the work session here. So, I mean, you know, it comes down to numbers. I mean, that's what it comes down to. What is it going to save the taxpayers during budget time this year, going forward into next year's budget? And again, just, you know, I'll repeat, you know, numbers don't lie. I mean, the numbers are what they are. So it's 510 for next year, and it could be even more. You know, so you could be bringing, Kenny, you're right. You could be bringing the total savings this year and next year to 600.
Right.
Which you know, on our budget, you know, that's, you know, a few percentage.
It's 3 points.
It's 3 points on, yeah.
3 points on the budget.
Which, you know, that's the difference between a budget increase and a flat or a negative.
And as Councilman Lombardi said earlier, I don't think any of us are ever in favor of buyouts because I just particularly don't care for them. But in these times, you know, we did look outside of the box, and we're continuing to look outside of the box of how we can save the taxpayers money, because the hardships everybody's going through, And like Frank, you said, the numbers do not lie. I just keep on checking them because I want to make sure it's like it's almost too good to be true. You sure you got everything? But
I've looked at
think,
this so many times.
Oh, well,
yeah. But we have to stick with what was said. They would have to be off of the books by September 30th. There's some key points that also have to be made in order for us to see these savings. So, it's really not a done deal yet because it's also on the officers. But I commend, the guys who went, I guess Chanel and Borelli who went to the town, to the officers to see if they would do it. And, to the rest of the town board for, at least exploring this option. And, if we can save almost $600,000 in 2 years for the taxpayers, we would be doing a disservice not to do it. So that's what I have to say.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Susie,
Can we go
Susie,
back
I
and
just
forth with
just to correct,
the number?
just to correct, it's not 600 over 2 years. It's actually a small savings for the months of October, November, and December for this year of about 56,000.
57,000, 57,2, and then
the huge
510
number
for next year.
Is next year, right? Right.
Right.
Yeah, so
Right.
all right, so I apologize. It's $5,680.
500,000.
Almost 580,000. No, I'm combining the 2 years.
Right. And that
Combining the 2
actually is,
years is about 580,000. It could be
Yeah.
plus or minus. That's where I
Right.
just rounded it up to 600,
Yeah.
but
But the big-
Paying into the
580,000.
pension
But
also.
the big effect is
Yeah.
on next year's budget.
right.
We went
Yeah.
around this a couple of different scenarios, a couple of different ways. This worked out better for everybody involved to do it by September 30th. I think it's a great thing. I think the number we went over also the incentive number. It is an incentive, so it has to give the officers an incentive to leave. And I think this was a fair meeting for all involved, and especially the taxpayers and the residents.
Yeah, and
No problem.
just Kenny, and I'm sure Mary Ann, you'd say this, they get a gross check of 50,000, but that's not the net number. The net number, there's taxes that
No.
come out.
they get
But when you
taxed.
figure
They get
out
taxed.
what you're actually walking away from,
Yeah,
or
they'll get
what they're
taxed.
walking away with versus the
Mhm.
salary that they would have continued to make October, November, December, and into next year, it's significant. It's a significant number.
Mhm. Right. And that
Yeah,
buyout will have to be processed this year, not next year.
No, this year.
This year.
Okay.
And I just want to add, the comparison I did with sergeant salary, detective salary, patrolman salary versus new hires, that was just salary. I didn't include benefits. So when you look at the benefit packages, the tier 2, the officers that are retiring are in tier 2. And I mentioned this earlier, the new hires are tier 6. So there's a greater savings by hiring tier 6 officers, and because they contribute more to their benefits versus the tier 2 officers who contribute less. So
And the
I just wanted-
the town contributes less to the tier 6, and we contribute
Right.
more to the tier 2. So that is a big savings, is the retirement pension cost.
good point, Mary Ann. Thank you. But
Yeah.
the whole thing makes sense. And, I just want to state also, because I know it was stated by Frank and Susie that, I'm not a really big proponent or a supporter of retirement incentives. But when you look at this package, it makes sense. It makes fiscal sense because of the savings to the taxpayers. And that's what we're looking at, when we do these things. So, it's smart to do it. And I think the taxpayers are going to be pleased with it when they see the savings at the end of the day. So I thank you all. Mary Ann, I thank you for crunching the numbers. I appreciate it. You did a great
Yep.
job with that. Bob for meeting with the people. Bob Channel for meeting with the police.
Kenny, just
And
one,
Mike
just one
Borelli
thing.
also.
Ken,
Yeah.
with, we went into this, in February or so, and there was no pandemic. And we all collectively as a group, once this pandemic happened and realized the impact that it was having on the taxpayers, we needed to start looking at some creative measures, and because we understand what's happening out there. It's affecting all of us. We all see it. So this is why this just is step one of being very creative in terms of effectuating what happens to the taxpayers. And again, the taxpayers are the ones that we need to consider most in this. And again, I said it before, the number is what the number is, and it could even be bigger than that. So when we're doing our budget, Kenny, in September and October,
Yeah.
And you have 500,000 or 550 coming off, that's big. That's big.
Over $500,000. Over $500,000 in savings.
Hopefully we'll find more ways to cut more costs going
Well,
forward.
Yeah, and this is step one, but it's a huge step. It's a huge number. We'll continue to work on it as the budget transpires, as the budget progress moves forward. But thank you to everybody involved. And I think at the end of the day, people can look at this and there's really no disputing the numbers.
I agree.
Okay.
All right, good.
Thank you, Mary Ann. You did a
Welcome.
great job and a lot of work. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Marion, you can't leave yet.
I know.
You go. So, Mary Ann, agenda item 2, consider budget revisions for January to April 2020.
Okay, I'll go through these quick. I know there's a lot of them. I usually do these every other month, but with the pandemic, we just didn't get to it. All right, so in the general fund, number 1, we're providing for the cost of outside legal counsel investigation per authorizing resolution. That's increasing the legal expense line by $25,000. Number 2, we're transferring for the town and county taxes on the town property that was purchased last year of $9,012. Number 3, we're providing and transferring for police uniform and motor vehicle expenses, a total of $10,000 in uniforms and $30,000 in motor vehicles. Number 4, we're recording encumbrances forward, increasing the budget per authorizing resolution. These are funds that were left over from the 2019 budget that we're carrying forward to the 2020 budget. Having to do with data imaging of $65,000. We're taking money from the contingent line for software conversion, master plan, and town code, and Swan Cove, $30,000 in police equipment. The rest of the encumbrances are in the recreation budget. Number 5, we're transferring to the airport park equipment line and capital fund. A total of $220,849 is coming from some of the recreation line budgets in the general funds. Number 6, we're providing for a transfer to the Carmel Garbage District for the increase in the contract costs. If you recall, in the cluster garbage district, we did not have enough money in that budget. So we had to we're transferring $100,000 from the general funds into the cluster garbage district to cover the cost of the increase in that contract. And we'll have to pay that back in the 2021 budget. Number 8, we're transferring from miscellaneous expenses in the general fund. And number 9, we're transferring $4,000 for the community police expenses. On page 2, transferring for an increase in highway building costs of $2,300. In the recreation budget, we're transferring for miscellaneous recreation expenses. Number 12, we're transferring for the waste wood processing of $7,000. In Carmel Fire Protection District number 1, we're recording the encumbrance forward increase in the budget for the dry hydrant expenses. In the highway fund, we're recording encumbrances forward increase in the budget for machinery capital expense. In the Carmel Cluster Garbage District, this is what I was mentioning earlier, which increasing the garbage contract by $140,000. $100,000 is coming from the general fund, which we'll have to budget to increase to pay back next year. And then $40,000 is coming from the fund balance in that district. In Carmel Water District Number 2, we're providing for a dry hydrant or fire hydrant repair from an insurance claim. Carmel Water District Number 5, transferring $1,500 for emergency repairs. Carmel Water District Number 6, we're providing for equipment and emergency repairs from anticipated revenue through insurance claim. That's a total of $14,492, and I believe we just got the check on that today. Also in Water District Number 6, we're providing and transferring for equipment and emergency repairs of $17,000. Carmel Water District Number 10, we're transferring $4,000 for emergency repairs. Carmel Water District Number 12, we're providing for equipment from anticipated revenue through insurance claims of $1,700 and transferring $6,000 for the purchase of equipment. Carmel Sewer District Number 2, we're transferring for various equipment purchases and installation services of $90,000. Carmel Sewer District Number 4, transferring $13,000 for an equipment cost purchase. Carmel Sewer District Number 5, transferring $5,000 for contractual expenses. The Drainage Capital Project, we are recording the 2020 capital authorization from proceeds of borrowing of $200,000. In the Highway Resurfacing Capital Project, we're recording $750,000 in proceeds of borrowing for that capital authorization. And the Highway Machinery Capital Authorization is $500,000. In the Airport Park Capital Fund, we're providing for airport park capital improvements. A total of $300,849. $170 is coming from the general fund and a transfer from other lines of $130. In the Water District Capital Project Funds, this project engineering that you see here is the $215,500. That's the cost to, I believe it was Weston and Sampson for the engineering design. We're just basically providing for the cost for that design from the proceeds of borrowing. And then in Carmel Water District Number 2, we're providing for capital costs from approved borrowing in that district of total of $661,630. That's all I got.
Okay, Town Board, any questions, comments for Mary Ann on the budget
No,
transfers?
Thank you.
Okay,
No?
thanks, Mary Ann.
Okay.
Nope, no
Okay,
questions,
thanks. Good night.
no comments.
No,
No question.
thank
All right, good
you.
night.
Okay. All right.
You
Good
could
night,
go,
guys.
you could go home now.
Thank you.
Go get a haircut.
Yeah, I wish.
Okay, next item on the agenda, number 3, is to consider reappointment to the Town of Carmel Environmental Conservation Board. There's a request by Anthony V. Federici. Dear Supervisor Schmidt, I am submitting this letter of interest for your consideration to have me continue to serve as a board member for the Town of Carmel Environmental Conservation Board. Since being appointed, I have enjoyed my time serving the ECB. I would like the opportunity to continue as a board member serving the Town of Carmel and its residents. I value serving on the ECB and desire to continue dedicating my time to help preserve the environment in my community, which is the Town of Carmel. I thank you for your kind consideration for my reappointment to the board. Anthony has done a great job serving on the ECB board, and I could say without reservation that I'd like to see him reappointed to that board.
Yep.
How's everybody else feel?
I feel the same as you do, Kenny,
Yeah.
that he should be reappointed.
Yeah.
And thank you, thank you.
Thank you,
Yep.
Anthony. Yep. Glad to have you continue doing your great work that you're doing.
Yep, he's doing a great job. Frank?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so Greg, I need a resolution reappointing Anthony.
Will do.
Okay.
Next week.
All right. All right, Resolution 4, Mahopac Volunteer Fire Department. Consider additions to the active list of the Mahopac Volunteer Fire Department. I have correspondence here from Brian Lena, the corresponding secretary of the Mahopac Fire Department. The Mahopac Fire Department has added the following person to the rolls of the fire department, we would respectfully request that he be added. You add the following: Robert M. Lewis of Mahopac, New York, is joining the Mahopac Fire Department, and we have to add him to the town workers' compensation. So the board needs to approve that by resolution. Is everybody good with appointing Mr. Lewis to the fire department?
Yes, perfect. Thanks, Robert.
Yep. Thank you, Robert, for serving. It's a great organization. I'm a life member there. Okay. So even though I haven't been around in a while, I am a life member.
When was the last time you put out a fire? Not in your kitchen.
Okay. Quite a while ago, many moons ago. All right. Next resolution, number 5, the Lake Cassidy Park District Advisory Board. This consider request to set rates for temporary and part-time help. So we have, board, you have it with you also in your backup, correspondence from Terry Kelly. He's the manager of the Lake Cassidy Park District. Hi, Ann Pasquarella. I hope all is well. I sent an email a month ago and realized it never went through. So here's another one with the pay rates. If you can email me back so I know you received it, that would be great. I also need a list of the Lake Cassidy Park District residents when you can have time to forward that to me for the gate guards. All right, so the lifeguard pay there's different scales, pay scales and different rates. The low end is $13 an hour and the high end is $17 an hour. So it's 13, 14, 16, and 17. It's commensurate with their experience as lifeguards, the training and experience as lifeguards. It's what the hourly pay would be. And for the gate guard, because the gate guard checks everybody entering the Lake Cassidy Park District. He checks their IDs. And the salary or the pay rate for the gate guard is $14 per hour and $17 per hour. Again, depending on experience and I think maybe age also, but I think it's mostly experience. All right, so we good with the lifeguard pay and the gate guard pay for the Lake Cassidy Park District? It comes out of their budget.
Right.
And it's paid for only by the residents that reside in the Lake Cassidy Park District. So this isn't borne by the town proper. All the taxpayers in town don't pay this. It's if you reside. I think there's 425 homes in the Lake Cassidy Park District. They pay the cost of the lifeguards and gate guard. Any questions?
Yeah, Kenny, I just have one question. I'm fine with the pay. That's no problem. But what is everybody doing with the COVID, with this situation? Are the beaches actually allowed to be open yet?
Yes, yes. 2 beaches opened last weekend. The Lake Secor beach opened, and there was one other beach that opened. Frank, which beach was that? The second one? Oh, the Mahopac Golf Club.
And McGregor as well. I think McGregor. I
No,
know that they had contacted me. and
Okay,
I told them to get in touch with Sean at the county.
okay.
Right. So that's, yeah. So with regard to the beaches, they're allowed to be open, but there's certain restrictions and requirements that they need to meet. So they had to contact the county to set that all up with them. And I know that at least one that I spoke to had called and left a message, and it's about, occupancy rates and distancing and things like that. So I believe, Kenny, that was set up with the county official for the health department with regard to the beaches.
So the county is going to make sure that everybody's adhering to the guidelines, or is it
Yeah, so
kind of
that-
self-patrolled?
Well, it's self-patrolled, but they had to be instructed by the county health department as to how it was going to, how it was going to take place.
Okay.
So once
All
they
right,
got
just
the approved plan.
Please, everybody, please make sure you're doing what you need to do, because we do not want to see an uptick in the COVID. So please, so we can continue to enjoy this summer as best as we can. I can't express this enough. You have to do what you're supposed to do. Be smart. That's really what it comes down to. Just be smart.
Kenny, while we're on the subject of the beaches, I know that you and I had some discussions, and other residents have contacted us with regard to the summer camps. Right now, there's no answer with regard to whether or not the summer camps are going to take place, but we are positioned with regard to our staffing, with regard to the rec department, with regard to it going forward if and when it can. So we're ready to go if it's able to go.
Yeah, Frank, thanks. The governor has not given an answer on that yet. And I'm really not sure what he's waiting for because, the sooner that we know whether or not it's a go or a no-go would be helpful because we're going through the motions, as you said, Frank, to gear up for camp. But he has not rendered a decision on that as of today. So we're hoping that, we'll have an answer on that in the coming days.
Right.
So I know the county executive in the control room today had some questions for the governor, and one of them was that in regards to summer camp programs.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of the other towns are asking the same question, So hopefully we'll get something on that, within the week.
Super. So, yep, so I'm good with the prices.
Okay, Susie. Bob, you good?
I'm good with the prices, yes.
All right, and Frank, you're good too, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, great. So the next, and our highway superintendent, Mike Simone, has just joined us. Mike, how are you?
Am I,
Good evening, board. How are you?
Good, Mike. So Mike's agenda item number 6 is to consider request to award bids for miscellaneous spring supplies and materials. Mike, you want to pick it up from there?
Sure. Back on February 20th, we were authorized to go out and solicit the bids. Our town clerk opened up bids on the 19th of March. And of course, COVID hit. So we are now coming back to you and being back in force and starting to do the work. I need to have these bids acted upon for a resolution. They're crushed gravel, item 4, run-a-bank, bituminous concrete, which is blacktop, catch basins, sumps and tops, steel culvert pipe and drainage pipe, aluminum culvert pipe, drainage pipe, and polyurethane drainage pipe. I have sent over to you and to Greg the numbers and the people to award the bids to, so I just need a resolution for it to go forward. And as I've spoke to most of these people right now, they will hold this bid till June 1, and then hopefully we'll have this enacted that far after, so that I'm working off of last year's bid, but we'll have this year's bid to go forth.
Do it next week.
Yep,
Yeah, we'll have it for June 3rd, Mike.
fine, perfect.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions for the highway superintendent regarding
No.
his agenda item?
no.
No? Okay, Mike, you're all set. Do you want to stay for the rest of the agenda or?
Not really.
That would be Mike.
There's a cameo appearance by Michael Simone.
Oh, bye, Mike.
All right.
Good night. All right, next agenda item is Rich Franzetti actually has the last 4, 7, 8, 9, and 10. 7 is to consider request to acknowledge emergency payment for repairs and services, Carmel Water District Number 2. Rich?
So thank you, Supervisor. This is to advise the Board of emergency invoices submitted in payment of $5,000 that were rendered in Carmel Water District 2, the lake intake pump station. There was a pump failure due to the storm on April 14th. Infomark, the operators of Water 2, alerted the department that due to the April 13th storm, primary intake water pumps were not staying primed. Infomark contacted TAMS to assist with priming the pumps. There's an invoice for TAM Enterprises in the amount of $5,995. This has been put in for an insurance reimbursement.
Okay, any questions for agenda item number 7 for the engineer?
Rich, I just had one. It says that there's the my glasses aren't strong enough, the VACCon truck for $450, but it said that it wasn't needed. So do we still have to pay because I don't know, where are you? Because
Yeah,
they brought it down?
Yeah, because they had to bring it just in case they needed it for some evacuate with the pumps. when priming those pumps, they either have to get the air out or the liquid out and then reprime them. So that was part of the process. So they needed it there, but they didn't need to use it in order to get the pumps working again.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions on this item? Okay, Rich, go on to number 8. It's to consider request to authorize extension of contract for chemical supplies.
So last year, the town, as the board may be aware, last year we received public bids for chemical supplies at various water and sewer districts. The contract was awarded to Slack Chemical. The contract term is for 1 year commencing July 7th of 19, with one year extension at the unilateral option of the town of Carmel. I have included the May 15th, 2019 memo requesting the award of the contract to Slack. Slack has adequately served the town of Carmel's chemical needs since July of 2014. We recommend the town board exercise its option to renew the contract commencing on July 7th, 2020 for a period of 1 year. Just so you know, we will be putting this out to bid again next year with the same terms, a 1 year term with a 1 year unilateral on the town of Carmel.
Okay, any questions for the engineer on agenda item number 8?
Nope.
Okay, there being none, Rich, go on to number 9. This consider request to authorize letter of intent for participation in the countywide hazardous mitigation plan.
So there's a letter attached to the memo from the Putnam County Bureau of Emergency Services inviting the town to participate in the countywide update to the of the previous hazardous mitigation plan, which was adopted 5 years ago by the county and by the town. We actively participated then. This HMP will provide benefits to the town, including awareness of risk and vulnerabilities, reduction of hazardous impacts, funding sources and mitigations, eligibility to receive FEMA funding for public and private mitigation projects, and improvement of resiliency. In order to participate in the update process, we must provide the town must provide the county with a letter of intent. They've provided us a copy of it for you guys to review, and we recommend that the town board authorize the supervisor to execute the letter of intent in substantially the same form that has been provided.
Okay, thank you, Rich. Any questions, comments, concerns on agenda item number 9?
Nope.
Just so you know, board, there was a kickoff meeting today with the county and a handful of the towns here in Putnam County. Not everybody attended because of technical difficulties, but it's something that's going to happen and be completed, I think they were saying, by the end of this year. So it's something we'll be working on. We're going to build off what we've done in the past. The key here is we need to be part of this to be eligible for FEMA funding. So it's good that we're going to do it. In order to, if there's state of emergency, we can make claims to FEMA accordingly. Sorry to keep on talking. I'm done.
Okay, all right. So Rich, the final agenda item for this evening's work session is to consider acknowledgement of payment to NYSEG for utility work for contract C-251, Carmel Sewer District 1 main extension.
So as the board is aware, we received bids to perform the sewer extension for the reference project. In order for the sewer line to be completed, a utility pole relocations are required to remove interferences where the proposed sewer alignment will go. There's a quote for $12,281.24 from New York State Gas and Electric and Gas to complete this work. We have authorized the payment, and the controller's office has issued a check in the amount stated. The action was taken in order to get onto NYSEG's work calendar as quickly as possible in order not to create any delays in the sewer extension project once it's awarded. The board should be aware that at the time the project was let to bid, it was uncertain if NYSEG would be able to respond in a timely manner to this request. Therefore, a pole relocation bracing was included as a line item in the contract in order to eliminate any potential delay claims. The cost for the work included in the low bidder was $15,900. With NYSEG now authorized to perform the work, we will not be utilizing this in the contract, which will result in savings of the contract of $3,618.76. So this is out there. There's really no additional action needed on the board. We've already approved it. I was actually on phone calls and emails with NYSEG today asking them to expedite the process. Supervisor Schmidt, we may need you to step in. If we don't, on Friday, we'll have a better understanding of what's going on. But we may need you to step in to help us expedite this so we can get them to move that pole sooner than later. It sounds like they're going to try to do it, but in case they fall off and don't do it, we're going to need you to strong arm them for us, so to speak.
Rich, I got a guy. I got a guy I could call.
I was dealing with the McDonough today on with
Susie, you do too.
I'll make a phone call. No. So
Well,
I
he's
just,
actually he's looking at it on Friday for us, so he's going to let us know what the time frame is.
he's great. Good guy. So I just had a question, Rich. I know like it's already done. Are they talking about just relocating one pole, or is there multiple poles that are going to be relocated?
There's one pole and the other one has to be braced up, but this is the one pole that's in front of the tile place. They're taking that pole completely out and I believe moving it across the street. But if you look at that pole, there's a lot of equipment on top of it. So it's not like, hey, we're putting in a new pole and just run everything. They got to move a lot and it's going to take a lot for them to do it. So.
Perfect. No, because what my concern was is that a lot of times NYSEG comes and they put a pole up and then they
Right.
put the wires on the new pole, but then they leave the old pole there. And like Kenny, you saw like we just have double poles, but you already answered the
Yeah.
question that they're actually moving it and taking away. So my concern is no concern right now. That's perfect. Thank you.
Great.
Thanks, Susie. Does anybody else have anything for Rich on this item?
Nope, thanks,
You good?
Rich.
Okay. All right. So that completes both the town board voting meeting agenda and the work session agenda. Hey, Ann, for June 3rd, is it just a voting meeting or are we doubling up the meeting with a voting meeting and work session?
No, June 3rd will just be a voting meeting. We'll keep the work session for the 10th. And you'll
Right,
have
the
a
public
public
hearing.
hearing on the 10th as well.
On the extra borrowing.
Yeah, the public
So this-
hearing will be on the 10th.
Correct. And then the 17th will be the planning board meeting and we'll be on the following Wednesday with the voting and work session.
Okay. All right. And Greg, you'll prepare the resolutions for the 3rd?
I will. I just wanted to ask the board, obviously, with respect to the retirement incentive, that's something that Labor Council will be preparing the agreement. You're waiting for ratification from the rank and file, the PBA before you sign it? Should I reach out to Labor Council and ask them for a draft resolution and a final agreement? What would you prefer that I do there?
Yeah. I have, Greg, Rob Giudotti just sent me the final agreement this evening. So, and the PBA did ratify it.
Oh, good. Okay, I wasn't aware of that. So as long as you could do the resolution authorizing it, you just shouldn't sign it until it comes back signed by the
I-
PBA.
Yeah.
I think Rob
Kenny,
had
can you
prepared a
just forward
resolution
that to
on a
us?
previous email.
Oh, okay, I'll check.
Uh,
I mean, typically he would do it.
I'll forward it.
The resolution, Ann?
Yeah, I think he sent it on one of the first emails, a resolution with the attachment of one of the first draft agreements. I could look at my emails because I was copied on it and I could forward that resolution to Greg if
Okay.
need be.
Okay.
Otherwise, all the
And
rest
Kenny-
I'll handle the
Uh,
other 8 or 9.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right,
Susie,
Kenny, can you just
Susie?
Yeah, you'll forward that.
I'll forward the final that I just received this evening from
Perfect.
Labor Council. I'll forward it to the board tonight.
Got it. Thank you.
This way you'll have it. Okay. All right. So I have one other thing I just want to show you guys. I held it up earlier, but I want to show you this mask.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, Marion. Mine is down
so
home.
much.
My daughter, because she gave birth to a little baby boy. So I don't have mine to show, but Frank sent me a
Well-
picture.
We had a resident of Mahopac, Marianne Chalusian. She's with the Mahopac Moms also. She made these masks for us. And as you can see, it's got the Town of Carmel logo on it. And below that, it says Carmel Town Supervisor Ken Schmidt on mine.
Yeah.
See that?
They're
Mary Ann,
on- yeah.
Mary Ann, thank you so much. Mary Ann Chalusian.
Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you.
you're-
Yes, thank you.
You're a great person, Mary Ann, and you do so much for the community. So, and I thank you for my gift of my new mask, which I'll proudly wear around.
They don't make those for contractors, do they?
And if I don't wear it, Mary Ann's going to let me know that too,
Good.
that I'm not wearing it.
Kenny,
So-
if you don't mind, I do have one thing that I wanted to bring up. You know, I've been working with Olivia Conlon with her gold award for Girl
Yes.
Scout. Remember the
Yeah.
heroes banners? So I can't see it.
Too
Shoot.
bright.
Yeah.
Too bright. Okay, so she started a website. This is for Olivia Conlon. She's a Girl Scout and she's going for her gold award, and it's called Our Hometown Heroes. So if you go to our hometownheroes.us, she has a website there that explains the entire thing. And what it is, it's a beautiful patriotic banners of our hometown heroes, which will be displayed throughout Mahopac and Carmel. The banners will be 30 inches by 60 inches. And again, please go to our hometownheroes.us, or please give Olivia a call at 845-621-9296. I really wanted to show you, I wish I could show but I can't, the banners. They are absolutely unbelievable. I can't wait to get one for my dad because it has the banner, the town of Carmel, and says Our Hometown Heroes, and it has a picture of the veteran. And then it has the seal of which like if he was in the Army, the Air Force, the Marines, and then it has the dates, and then there's a blue line that, like it would say from the McDonough family, and on the bottom it says a project of Girl Scout Gold Award of Conlon, which is Olivia Conlon, the Carmel Town Board, and the Highway Department. So I'm going to send that to all of the board members so everyone has it. So she is, they do have the sponsorship form on the her website, and they're $175 each. So just go to the website, it'll explain everything to you, and you can always contact me if you also have questions, but it's Olivia's project, so you probably should go to her first. But I was proud to help her with this, and I'm proud of the town board and the highway department for being on board with each of these. So it's going to be really neat.
Susie, if Dominic lets me share the screen, I have the website up.
Oh, you do? Wonderful. Thank
Dominic,
you.
I can share my screen if Dominic lets me do it. So Dominic, if you can hear me, please let me share my screen.
I don't know how to do that. But it's really going to be a very nice thing. She wanted her idea was originally to have it up from Memorial through Labor Day.
Got
Can you see that now?
Yeah, and then Rich, can you scroll up to the one of the actual banners that she has? Like you could see it here. Oh, scroll up a little bit more.
Yeah, that's all I got. Store
Oh no, yeah, if you scroll up, it had a banner. It showed a banner.
right here.
Nope, keep on going. Keep on going, keep on going. Right there to the left. See the banner? Whoop, go back down. See the banner to the
Right
left?
there.
Yep, where it has Peter Allegrita.
Yep.
So that would be what the banners would look like. That would be placed on the poles throughout Mahopac and Carmel. All right, so I just wanted to bring everybody up to speed with that, and I will send her her website to the town board as well. It's
All right,
cute,
I'm gonna
right?
stop
Did a nice
sharing
job.
screen.
Got it. Thank you.
No problem.
Thanks, Susie.
Yep.
All right. Does anybody else have any other announcements or comments they'd like to make?
I have one thing, it's not on the agenda, but I just wanted to run it by everyone. With the reopening of New York, Putnam County, Town of Carmel, is there anything that we can do when I guess it would be phase 3 probably, with the restaurants reopening to 50% capacity? Is there any way that we can help them to get permits for outdoor seating? Just so that they can, feed more people, so to speak. I know there's a lot of regulations to get those sidewalk permits. but maybe we can do a moratorium or make it a little easier for them to, get them if it would work for them.
Sure. Bob, I spoke to Mike Carnazza as early as today about this, and he will be very supportive of the restaurants with respect to, or any businesses for that matter. But specifically, we talked about the restaurants and outdoor dining, and he's very receptive and willing to help any restaurant owner that would that submits an application for outdoor dining. He will expedite processing that application to make sure it gets done in a timely manner. And also, we spoke a little bit about the fee. I know some jurisdictions, some municipalities are considering, or they have waived the fee for restaurateurs or restaurants that have submitted applications to the building department for outdoor dining. And, I would think that at this time, during this crisis and the impacts it's had, the negative impacts it's had on our restaurants, the restaurant community, if they would like to expand their facilities to allow for outdoor dining, and and it's reviewed by the building inspector, I personally have no objection to considering waiving the fee for that application for them, because that's something that we can do as a town board and a municipality to help these restaurants get back on their feet. And certainly paying an application fee is something that they may have difficulty doing during this time where they're trying to, get back in business again. So what does the board think about that? What's your thoughts on waiving the fees?
Yeah, that's,
I
I mean,
agree
obviously it's a great
100%.
idea.
Yep.
And, I know that
100%.
I had spoken, Kenny, we had conference call with Mike last week with regard to a business owner in town who came up with a very creative idea, and he actually was very successful at it over the weekend. And Mike and the building department did, represented the town well in terms of us wanting to be partners with businesses in this community to improve themselves and try to get themselves on the right footing during the situation. So that's already have been started. I know, again, we were on the call with Mike last week, Wednesday or Thursday it was, and Mike's doing a great job with trying to help out each business owner to come up with some creative ideas and what we as the town can do to help them as well.
All right,
Yeah, I also, Kenny, I think Mike's been doing an amazing job, and anything that we can do in our roles and Mike can do to help, the business owners, all business owners, I'm on board 100% with that.
I'd like to
Okay,
get the ball rolling
right.
so that they can be prepared when that point comes in time where that phase 3 kicks in, that they'll have everything in front of them and they can, proceed to open up a little bit more.
You can waive the fees by resolution. Okay, so that's something you can do. You should, you can either waive them for a class of applicants or for specific applicants. The only thing I'm going to ask you to be mindful of is, even in phase 3, if the executive orders regarding the limitations on the amount of people in a gathering is in effect, you have to look very closely at the applications for how many seats are being sought at a particular facility with respect to, what kind of gatherings are permitted. If obviously there's a lift on the restriction on the gatherings, that's probably not a big deal then, but that's something that has to be kept in mind. We still have to abide by.
No, and when I had this discussion, each applicant, obviously, nothing can be blanket. Everybody has a specific little niche or location where they can do stuff, but we'll work with them to move that forward. We have to comply with the phase 3 when it comes out, and which would probably not be for June, mid-June, right, Ken?
Yeah, mid-June. Yeah.
About rough. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's roughly June 24th, I believe.
Yeah.
25th.
2 weeks between each phase.
If we can do our part to prepare it and let them know so they can file whatever applications they need, this way they'll be prepared to open up in the capacity that the state allows them to.
Yeah, spoke to the chamber, some representatives
I
from
was
the
gonna
chamber
say-
today to let them know what we were thinking about. And I let them know that, our door at Town Hall is always open for them to come up with any ideas that they have when we start the phase 3 to help them out.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so Bob, thank you for mentioning that. That's great. And whatever, we're here for any local business. We support our businesses in the community. So whatever you need, whatever you think we might be able to help you out with while you're reestablishing yourselves back and getting your businesses back up and running, please don't hesitate to call us, and we'll see if we can assist you. But we're here to help in any way that we can. So, all right. Anyone else have any other comments before we close?
Oh, just that my daughter had a baby boy, so I'm grandma 3 times. Little boy, Teddy James.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
Susie, congrats.
Thank you.
Congrats, Sue.
Thank you.
When are you coming back?
Well,
When are you?
when COVID goes away. No,
Oh.
no, I will be back in a few days. Yeah.
All right.
She had a home birth, so I just wanted to make sure everything was good. And it is,
All right.
thank God, so.
And I would be in trouble with your sister, and Frank, you'd be in trouble too, if we didn't mention the barbecue for this Saturday.
Yep.
Frank, do you want to speak about it?
Yeah, sure. So Lane Mongan had proposed probably a month, 6 weeks ago,
Mhm.
doing a drive-through barbecue lunch for our first responders in our town and in our county. So this coming Saturday at the Mahopac Firehouse is going to be a drive-through barbecue, which I know many of us are going to be going and putting our chef's hat on as well and being runners and whatnot. I think it's going to start at 11:30 or so. And I know that, Kenny, you had mentioned that there's huge donation from
Ace
Indigo,
Indigo.
Pepsi,
Yep.
also. And I spoke to Lynn a few days ago. So that's all going to be taken care of. But it's going to be basically a drive-through. You're going to drive in from Route 6 behind the firehouse, come on out onto Croton Falls Road, and we'll have your boxed lunch ready to go. But of course, you have to have your ID for as a first responder, medical professional, nurse, doctor, et cetera. And it's a great idea. I know several of us have donated to it. Many other organizations have donated to it as well. So this is all Lynn's idea. And I know that we'll be there on Saturday. It looks like the weather's going to be good. And I think we have set up, I don't know, probably for around 250 to 300, right, Ken?
Yes. Yep.
So, yeah, it's a great idea. And it's one more thing that we're doing in our community, in our town, to support first responders, just like we supported our food pantries, just like we support our businesses. So we've been doing a lot, but we have great ideas coming from a lot of great people. So if you have ideas, let us know and we'll help you run with it. But this was, like I said, this was Lynn's idea, and we're helping her as volunteers.
So Frank, again, it's this Saturday, May 30th, and it starts at 11:30 a.m. and it runs to 2 p.m. right at the Mahopac Fire Department across from the roller rink on Route 6. And as you mentioned, Frank, it's for emergency first responders, police, fire, EMS, correction officers, frontline hospital workers, nurses, doctors, support staff, technicians, any COVID responders, or during, and they continue to provide that medical service and emergency services during the COVID crisis. So we want to honor you and feed you a nice barbecue this Saturday. So just bring your ID with you when you're driving. Frank, they're coming in off of Croton Falls Road?
No, they're coming in from Route 6, going in behind the firehouse.
Okay.
And coming out from behind the firehouse and exiting onto Croton Falls Road.
Okay, great. It's a great barbecue lunch. that'll be available for you with a beverage. And again, we'd like to thank Ace Endico for the generous donation of most of the food that they're going to have at the event, and Pepsi for the beverages.
Pepsi.
So
Yep.
Pepsi, yeah.
And Lynn.
So that's great. And how many times can I drive through, Frank? Just once?
And if
Yo.
if you don't bring your chef
Jenny?
hat, you're working, you're not eating.
I'll be there working. I'm only teasing.
And also, Kenny,
Hand
we
in hand.
should thank the fire department for allowing us to use their
Yes.
facility there as well.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
it's really-
they're really stepping up big time.
Yes.
The
yeah,
Mayapack Fire Department.
Yes, so thank you. The whole community is. I think it's just awesome.
Yeah, it is. And I think the grills, they're letting us borrow their grills also.
Right, yep.
I was
So-
hoping they would do the sausage, pepper, and onions
Yeah, me too.
like they do at the
I know.
carnival. But that's all right.
Susie, don't you have a guy you could call to see if they can do that?
You're so bad.
You're
All
asking
right,
for trouble.
we're good.
All right, everybody, we're going to sign off. I need a motion to close the meeting.
Motion to
moved.
close.
Motion by Councilman Shannell, seconded by Councilman Lombardi. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Good night, everyone. Be well, stay safe. We'll see you back here
Stay safe. Good
on
night.
June 3rd, 7 PM for Town Board voting meeting. Good night.
Yeah.
Dominic.
All right, stand by.
Bye, Greg.
All right, guys.
All right, good night.